Miss Wilson, there's a great scene with you and Paul Rudd when your characters are talking in the kitchen, and Mr. Rudd's character has this grand moment of realization where he talks about how he's been given people advice over the years to help them solve their problems as a shrink, but he doesn't often follow his own advice, and he talks about wanting to reach. So this got me thinking about some of the great advice or thoughtful statements the characters you've both played over the years, such as in this show with Bonnie talking about her own goals and in that very scene to help her husband, I guess, be more selfless, or Phyllis talking to her kids about how family is a collection of people you owe an apology to. Do you ever follow or adopt any of your characters' thinking or views? Did Bonnie and Phyllis reveal anything to you?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I adopted Bonnie's, but it definitely got me thinking, just about how love can kind of blind us sometimes to people. And maybe that's okay. Sometimes we don't need to see every truth about someone. I think in this case, it was just so extreme, his behavior, but also what we kind of how we allow ourselves to be treated. It was just such an interesting character, married to this charismatic man who ultimately like does some things that could be considered quite wrong, but she's also a bit complicit in it. So I don't
Mhm.
know. I wish Bonnie would stand up for herself a little bit more, but so
Yeah,
I don't know if I answered that. I hope.
You did very well.
Thank you.
agreed.
I
Yeah.
mean, ah, you know, I think that what Phyllis says is so amazing. I never had thought of it that way, but it's so true. The family is a collection of people you owe an apology to. I think is
So
just
good.
such a
Mhm.
great line. And in terms of, she's playing Phyllis was such a eye opener for me, and it was like a perfect time in my life, and it was just like I learned so much from her, just her strength, her like steadfastness for her brother after all of that time, her being able to vocalize her anger in a
Mhm.
way that just wasn't like totally irrational. Um, and yeah, whatever, yelly and screamy, and then still have a space to hold for forgiveness without even
Yeah.
really needing to hear him say it back. Like all those things were like are lessons I hope I will take
Yeah.
along my path in life.
Yeah, Phyllis has a great BS detector, and
Yeah.
man, you had some killer lines like the what was that one I laughed at so long that I'm broiling some lamb chops tonight and the fire alarm might go off.
Oh, yes. Broiling lamb chops.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The show is fantastic and it delivers the single greatest moment of comedy that I've experienced all year. And I'll just say it involves curtains, anxiety, candles, and Jesus Christ. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I don't think you've given too much away there. That's a pretty good teaser.
Yeah. I can't wait for people to see it. But I want to talk about finding comedy in the mundane, everyday kind of things, like our everyday worries. There's this great moment in the first episode where there's kind of like this ping pong match going on when it's deciding whether when it's somebody's offering to pay for something, where it's like it's okay, it's fine. Are you sure? So, do you just observe human behavior? Like, what's the art of subtle comedy?
Yeah, I'm really glad you noticed that, and I'm like you, I'm a fan of those small moments in life that say so much, and to me, they're kind of more interesting than big dramatic moments, because I think you get to reveal character so much more in those tiny moments where, when people are uh, the way people conceal and reveal themselves in those social interactions has always been fascinating to me. And I think you can get to some really funny moments, and I think you can also get to some really sad and revealing moments by exploring those tiny trivia, those everyday incidents, as you say. I think, when tackling something like this that has uh, humor and very dark moments, the key to both those things is truth and honesty. So I mean, these incredible casts don't need any help, but I just would always say, just be completely truthful in this moment, and then we'll feel the comedy of it, or we'll feel the pain of it. And they did such a beautiful job where they all give extraordinary performances.
I agree. I'm also curious about the process that you have in place for developing these narrative and character beats and working with a team of storytellers to fulfill your vision and make sparks of their own. Like in the first episode, you tease what the end result will be for this story, but obviously we have a journey to experience to get there. How did you go about mapping this all out and filling in those gray areas with your team?
Well, it's presented as a true crime story, really, in the podcast. And it occurred to me that it's not a whodunit, and that some people watching the show will have listened to the podcast and some won't. So I thought, instead of making it all about what happened, let's tell people up front, this goes really wrong.
Yeah.
And then let's enjoy exploring, how did this happen and why did this happen and what was it about these men that allowed this extraordinary thing to happen.
Without trust, we have nothing. I trust you completely. This is my decision.
He's living in your head.
I am going to take care of everything. Feels good, doesn't it? Yeah.